First we had orcs. Now we get a new book announcement. It seems to be a good time to be a Tolkien fan. Hello and welcome to The Broken Sword. Today we are looking at the new announcement for the new book coming out at the end of this year, The Fall of Númenor.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
So Harper Collins have just announced that they are releasing a new book called The Fall of Númenor in November of 2022. So I thought today I would quickly look at this announcement and see what this book exactly is. Really, the first place to start, I think, is from the press release by Harper Collins, as they are the ones releasing this book as well as most Tolkien books that ever come out. They say they are proud to announce the publication in November 2022 of The Fall of Númenor by J.R.R. Tolkien, edited by writer and Tolkien expert Brian Sibley, and illustrated by acclaimed artist Alan Lee. First of all, the question that might come from this first part of the press release is, who is Brian Sibley? Well, he's one of those names that, if you are a big fan of Tolkien, I'm hoping that you may know. But if you don't, let's go over a little bit about him. He is a writer who has worked quite closely with a lot of the film productions of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, making and writing a lot of the making of type books that go with the movies. He is also very well known as he co-wrote the BBC radio drama of The Lord of the Rings that came out in the 80s. And to be honest, I would say this is debatably the best audio drama of The Lord of the Rings there is. Yes, you have the audiobook by Andy Serkis, which is incredible, but before that, this Brian Sibley written one was the one to go to. So basically, he has a very good interest and background in all Tolkien lore, and he is a good person to be an editor and expert on any project you could get, so that's a great thing. And then of course, most people will also know Alan Lee as the artist. He is just an incredible Tolkien artist. Every time he puts something out, it is amazing. Every time he puts out something new, I cannot wait to look at it. And realistically, from the cover that you will be seeing on screen now, you can understand why. Look how good this cover looks. Look how good this art looks. You can see the wave destroying the land of Númenor. It almost looks like it's about to tip it upside down back on itself into the ocean and completely sink it in the sea. And for those of you who may not see it straight away, you may notice that Sauron is standing on some ruins in this as well, potentially standing on one of the temples of Melkor that he would build there. Either way, it's an awesome detail in this incredible cover. But anyway, let's get back to the press release for a moment. They continue by saying, presenting for the first time in one volume the events of the Second Age as written by J.R.R. Tolkien, and originally and masterfully edited for publication by Christopher Tolkien. This new volume will include pencil drawings and colour paintings by Alan Lee, who also illustrated The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and went on to win an Academy Award for his work on the Lord of the Rings film trilogy. So, what does this part tell us? Well, it says how Christopher Tolkien was involved in this work. And rest in peace to him, it does show that this has been in the works for many, many years if he was involved. And that is a good thing. It shows that they've been putting a lot of time and effort into this, and they're not just trying to throw something Second Age together quickly to make some money because of the Amazon show. Now, the whole link between this and the Amazon show is something I will get to later on. So, back to the press release. J.R.R. Tolkien famously described the Second Age of Middle-earth as a dark age, and not very much of its history is, or need be, told. And for many years, readers would need to be content with the tantalizing glimpses of it found within the pages of The Lord of the Rings and its appendices. And this is kind of what Amazon has had to go with. But it continues. It was not until Christopher Tolkien presented The Silmarillion for publication in 1977 that a fuller story could be told for. Though much of its content concerned the First Age of Middle-earth, there were at its close two key works that revealed the tumultuous events concerning the rise and fall of the island kingdom of Númenor, the forging of the Rings of Power, the building of Barad-dûr, and the rise of Sauron and the last alliance of elves and men. Now obviously from this, that shows many of the events that this book is going to focus on. Obviously Númenor plays such a big part in the Second Age, the Rings of Power are just important to the histories in a whole, but even the talk of the building of Barad-dûr, we don't get an awful lot on this in the past, apart from that the One Ring is very central to its completion. So it'll be interesting to get everything together in one easy place to read. But again, let's continue. Christopher Tolkien provided even greater insight into the Second Age in Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth in 1980, and expanded upon this in his magisterial 12-volume History of Middle-earth, in which he presented and discussed a wealth of further tales written by his father, many in draft form. Now, using the Tale of Years in The Lord of the Rings as a starting point, Brian Sibley has assembled from the various published texts in a way that tells for the very first time in one volume the tale of the Second Age of Middle-earth, whose events would ultimately lead to the Third Age and the War of the Ring as told in The Lord of the Rings. Then we get a bit more about the publication of the books, but then very interestingly we get a quote from Brian Sibley himself, where he says, "Since the first publication of the Silmarillion 45 years ago, I have passionately followed Christopher Tolkien's meticulous curation and scholarship in publishing a formidable history of his father's writings on Middle-earth. I am honoured to be adding to the authoritative library with The Fall of Númenor. I hope that, in drawing together many of the threads from the tales of the Second Age into a single work, readers will discover, or rediscover, the rich tapestry of characters and events that are a prelude to the drama of the War of the Ring as is told in The Lord of the Rings." This is awesome. I love that basically the idea of this book is to bring everything we know about the Second Age, all the notes that are scattered here, there and everywhere in The Lord of the Rings, in the History of Middle-earth, in the Silmarillion, in the Unfinished Tales. They're going to all be brought together in one easier to read book. Now obviously this isn't going to be in the sense of they're not going to make up more stories for it. They're not going to add things that were never written by J.R.R. Tolkien. They're just going to bring everything together that is out there and that has been written into one clearer place to go through. Because realistically, if you wanted to read the entire history of the Second Age, you had to hop, skip and jump all around all the books to find everything you would need. To me, this just makes sense. Because that is a question that appears to have come up straight away with this book, is this a new original story? Is it like the Children of Húrin that we got, where we got a passage from the Silmarillion then got turned into its own individual story that was fleshed out? Is it like that? Well, the answer is no. It is not going to be in that way. It's not a new story about someone on Numenor and their life. It is a collection of all the notes and stories that we've previously gotten, put into a timeline order so it is easier to understand. So it won't be in the order that he wrote things, like the books were released, it will be in the order of the timeline and the years of Middle-earth. So in some ways, far easier to understand. But one more question that is coming up as well that I will address now before finishing off this quick video is, does this have any links to the Amazon show? Well, from what I understand so far, no, it does not. I don't believe Amazon are using everything from this book for their show, as they don't have the rights for everything that is going to be included in it. And are they releasing this book as a counter to the Amazon show because they don't like what they're doing? Officially, the answer is always going to be no. And perhaps there is maybe a little bit to that, but I think because the Amazon series is going to be counted as an adaptation, this is their way to release something alongside it and go, well, if you like the show, kind of get the full-on fleshed out version of it here for people who haven't read the books and they get introduced to it by Amazon. At least that's the kind of idea that I'm getting from it. Like I said, it could be something as a pure counter to it to show them, no, this is the correct Second Age, not what you're showing, but that is never going to be said publicly. So it's for us to guess. But either way, this is a really cool announcement. This was only going to be a quick video about it, but I'd love to know what you all think. Are you going to purchase this new Fall of Númenor book? And if you do, you're going to get the standard version or the usually very, very cool deluxe edition. I'll probably end up with both just for the sake of a collection, but I'd love to know what you all think. Are you excited about this book? Because I certainly am. But really, just another quick one for today. Remember to check out my video that I put out yesterday about the newly released images of the orcs for the show, and stay tuned for a lore video tomorrow. So thank you if you've reached the very end of this video with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.